Hey everybody, we are at peak flower in the gardens today, so we are going to take a little stroll around the yard. We're not going to look at everything. We just did a fairly thorough yard tour not long ago, and so today we are going to just sort of look at what is now blooming. So you can see our purple phlox right there are starting to bloom, and if we start looking around, we'll notice that we have little patches of phlox here and there. Comes up almost like wildflowers. So again, these sort of tall, spiky plants with the purple on top. And we'll be seeing a lot more of those. We'll show you some of those up close in a minute. But you can see all our purple and white coneflower. That's also known as echinacea. That's all in full bloom. Here's a little closer look at some phlox. And then these are all phlox. These are still long waited before they're in full bloom, but they are just starting to go. We still have all of our tiger lilies to bloom, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you're subscribed. We will be doing some more updates. We're not done with our flowers for the season, but we are pretty much at peak flower. We don't get much more than we got going on right now all at once. So again, all the coneflowers are blooming. The new lilies that we got, this one and this one here, are pretty much passing their prime. But if you look, you can see the hostas are finally in full bloom. While I generally don't think about the hostas as a flowering plant, we tend to appreciate the hostas more for their foliage than their flowers. I have to admit, when we have them in full display like this, it's pretty impressive. So here's another coneflower that I really like. It's a sort of reddish color. We have some that are almost an orangish color, but I don't see any off the top of my head. But I did want to get up here while there's still a little bit of sun shining on it. This is a new hydrangea we planted last year, and this is the first year we're actually seeing flowers on it. And it is an absolutely fantastic looking hydrangea. And now I remember why we bought it. Not only does it have a lot of red coloration in the foliage itself, but the flowers are just amazing. And they change subtly as they open and develop. You can see how dark they are when they first get started, and then they get lighter and lighter. But they have the sort of kiss of purple around the edge of the flowers, or the petals I should say. And it's just a really, really nice looking hydrangea. So this is a little bit more of a look at it sort of standing in the garden. You can see all of the flowers. We got our big everlasting summer hydrangea that will continue to bloom all summer. These great big tall plants right next to us are some kind of weed. I'm just kind of waiting to see what they do. They might have some sort of flower on them or something, I don't know, but they're definitely weeds. And we've got these nice daylilies blooming back there, and we have a variety of different hostas over this way. If we come up here, we've got several different daylilies blooming up there. I really like these sort of salmon-y colors, and these really, really big yellow ones are absolutely beautiful. We have another everlasting hydrangea, or endless summer hydrangea, whatever they're called. So later in the year, we'll have our sedum blooming. Again, we have lots and lots of phlox in here that haven't even started to go yet. We have the red coneflowers. We'll have a look at some more coneflowers in just a minute. But while we're here, let's turn around and we'll see some gooseneck loosestrife in full bloom right here. And then we will see the most amazing hydrangea we've got. This is just stunning. It's kind of passing its prime. We're only going to get these 3 flowers on it this season, but look at the size of these flowers. They're just enormous. Absolutely huge. These aren't as big, but they're still pretty big for the size of this hydrangea. That one is just huge. Love it. And you can see we got more of the gooseneck loosestrife, and we've got the various bee balm. Let's have a look at this. I know the sun's not shining on it at the moment, but this is a slightly different color bee balm than the rest of it. It's almost like a raspberry color. Really, really pretty color. And so if we come back the way we just came. I know this is really sort of haphazard look. We're just going from flower to flower, but that's all right. It's not like it's not a nice day to do it. So let's walk back through this path. And once we get down to this end, we've got some of these bee balm in the sun, or at least they were a minute ago. Another really nice daylily. These are almost like a puffy, pillowy petal on them. Really neat. And of course you can see we have fern interspersed through here, and a lot of these little plants you see that don't look like they're doing much of anything, those are all phlox, and so we still have quite a lot of phlox left to go. It's another hydrangea. We just planted this one literally a few days ago. We just purchased these. We still have one more we need to put in the ground. We got a couple of hydrangeas on sale the other day, really cheap, so they're going to be going in the ground. And this is a good example of what the bee balm looks like in the sun. Now this is the more traditional red rather than that sort of raspberry color we were just looking at, but I absolutely love these flowers. It looks, to me, I always think it looks like a cross between like a firework going off and like a harlequin hat or like a jester's cap. Really neat flowers, really like them. See, here's another example. These are all phlox that are getting ready to bloom, but as of yet have yet to go. So if we come over here, these are all of our black-eyed Susans. This is the Maryland state flower, that is Rudbeckia. And we've got some stuff back here that's not ready to go yet. We have these black and blue salvia. I really like these black and blue salvia. Have a few of those. So we have some wild impatiens that are getting ready to bloom here soon. This is actually milkweed. Not only is milkweed a very pretty flower, but it encourages the monarch butterflies. We get the caterpillars on it, and we get the monarch butterflies from the salvia. From the milkweed. If we come over here, this bed is pretty much in full bloom now. We've got a few of the more interesting looking daylilies down at this end. Oh look, we have one. This is the only flower we're going to get on this hydrangea this whole season. It did really rough last year. It's recovered nicely, but we only got that one flower from it from last year, so we'll have to see how this one fares. We might have to move it, I don't know. But these orange daylilies are really pretty. That's a double. And then all of these, as I pointed out in the last video, these are all just your basic roadside orange, except they're double-headed flowers. I'm not sure how they all got through here, but we have all those double-headed flowers. Got these daylilies blooming right now. This is another one. I'm not sure why it's all the way down here on the ground, but this one is huge. These are our biggest daylilies. My wife always says that the buds look like bananas right before they open, and they really do. More coneflower. More daylilies. I really like these dark ones. That hydrangea looks awful right now. It looks all wilted, but that's just because the sun is shining on it. As soon as it gets in the shade again, it'll perk right back up. It does that every day. Hydrangeas do not like a lot of sun blasting down on them. So let us continue over here towards the driveway. And these are what my wife refers to as the bananas. When these things open, they're just huge flowers on them, but we have to wait. They're not ready to go yet. And it looks like there's not a whole lot of other flowers going on over here. You can see we have the patches of hosta here and there. We have patches of hosta around most of the trees. All these daylilies in this patch are already done and passed. We still do have some tiger lilies in there ready to go, just as we do in most places. So that's about it. We do have the garden on the far side of the yard, but that's mostly a shade garden, and there's not a whole lot of flowers going on in there at the moment. Do have a few of my wife's planters here. This one's really pretty. And then these are going to be Lady in Red salvias. She does this every year. Does the wheelbarrow with the Lady in Red, and this is going to be really spectacular in another few weeks once that starts opening up. The little man's making his way back to the house. And so this is actually some of the stuff we still have left to put in the ground. We have all these sedum. We have this hydrangea. There's some cannas, elephant ears. This is catnip, believe it or not. And then planted petunia. You've already seen those planted planters. And let's just have a walk real quick on over to the other side. Again, not a lot of flowers. This is where we move a lot of the stuff from the house to where it gets a little bit of sun, but it's still fairly well shaded under these trees over here. And then likewise, flowering over here, we just sort of have most of the hostas are in flower, so not a whole lot of point in getting in here and walking around and looking at everything specifically. You can see these red, that's like the last of the astilbe. We have a few little astilbe that are sort of hanging on, but almost everything that's blooming over here at this point is all just the hostas. So there you go, everybody. That is a little look around the yard at peak flower, which is what we're at now. And as I keep saying, we're not done. We do have more stuff to go as the summer goes on, but this is by far the most flowery we get in the whole season. It's going to be sort of downhill from here. But on that cheerful note, make sure you are subscribed, as I asked earlier. That way you won't miss any of the updates whenever we do get the tiger lilies blooming and the butterfly bushes open up, etc., etc. We'll get more of that, plus all the other stuff I do on the channel, and the outdoorsy stuff, and the kayaking and the fishing and all that kind of stuff. So make sure you're subscribed and you won't miss any of that. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you real soon on the next one.